Welcome to the Whale Podcast, special edition. Back with me again is Liz Padilla. Liz, say hi.
Hello. Good to be back.
Well, that's good. I'm glad you are. We also have Miguel Escobedo with eXp Realty.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
DFW Realtor. Welcome. We want to start this off. We're wanting to find a little bit more about DFW real estate. What's going on with that market, and a little bit about yourself. So
Awesome.
Tell me a little bit about your journey so far and what brought you into real estate.
To real estate. So I've been doing this for, it's going to be 6 years in August. So it's been a while. I started when I was 21. I'm 27 now. So it's been a long journey, very hard, struggled a lot.
Mm-hmm.
The beginning years, I did so much real estate. Now we're doing really, really well.
Yeah.
And then what got me intrigued into real estate was that I actually helped my dad build houses.
Okay.
So we were out there in the heat, and I saw a couple real estate agents every once in a while, and I was like, you know what, I could do that, and now I'm doing it. So, and it's cool because I'm selling those type of houses that we were building.
Right.
So that really was the thing that intrigued me. Also, I was going to UTA, which is a local university here in Arlington. I was studying criminal justice, and then one thing they told me was that if you're studying criminal justice, you're not doing it for the money.
Yeah.
And, in the real world, you need money. So that kind of, it was a red flag for me. And I completely understand that, it's not all about the money,
Sure.
but there's a huge part of it. So after that, I kind of, stepped away a little bit from school, and I went to all my classes here and there.
Mm-hmm.
I barely passed. I was there, I actually did 3 years. I need 1 year more and I'll finish. My mom was like, want me to go back and everything.
I guarantee
But
she wants that on the wall.
she wants that on the wall, But I decided, hey, let me just get my real estate license, and I haven't looked back since.
Yeah.
Been doing phenomenal.
Mm-hmm.
Have great mentors with my company, and that's how I got started with everything.
That's a pretty good start. Maybe your criminology degree come into play in the real estate market sometimes.
Probably so. Negotiations, right? Negotiations are important. So
I hear you. So one of the things that we want to know about is, just the Dallas market in general, right?
Okay.
So tell me a little bit about how the Dallas market has changed recently, and what are you anticipating for the future of the DFW market?
Okay, so the DFW market. So everyone says Dallas, but I say I'm pretty lucky and blessed that I have two major cities right next to each other, right? So I have huge business opportunities in both cities.
Huge.
I say DFW in general. There's a ton of people moving here, which is crazy. You're talking about people from California, Chicago, New York. I have a guy coming this Friday from Germany.
Yeah, that's wild.
It's crazy, right?
Yeah.
So,
And
this
I just had how
Tell me.
did you get in contact with him, or how did he get in contact with you?
through my YouTube
Germany?
channel.
Okay.
Yeah,
cool.
so my YouTube channel has been key for people who are coming from out of state, because a lot of people need to see that information, before they get here. And so basically they do their research, they look me up on YouTube, they already know a lot about Texas and about the DFW area alone. But the market here, it's growing a lot. A lot of people are coming from other places.
Sure.
And then also not just that, but a lot of people here are buying houses now.
Right.
So there's a ton of opportunities, and people are taking those opportunities and actually using their capital that they're earning from those opportunities and buying real estate.
Well, you guys are really fortunate too, where a lot of markets will get excited about maybe a little bit of a bump in a particular industry, but you guys are like the insurance capital of the world.
Everything. Yeah.
You go downtown Dallas, it's the Prudential building, it's all of that. So constant employment.
Exactly.
Toyota's just moved into
Yeah.
town. PGA's moving into
PGA,
Frisco.
yeah.
I mean, there's always something coming to this area, as opposed to some people like, oh
Moving
no,
out.
this is leaving us.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So this is like a destination just for businesses and people, which is huge.
It's
because you need a job, more than likely, to buy these houses, and you need somewhere to stay, because the rental in DFW is off the charts.
Exactly.
I mean, your minimum is going to be a house payment.
Yeah.
Your $2,200 a month is a one bedroom, right? If you're lucky,
If you're lucky. In certain areas.
and it's going up, and that's a 30% hike, anticipated hike every single year, because the property taxes don't get cheaper; they just keep bumping the rent up.
Exactly.
So yeah, that's perfect. So when we're talking about these people moving in, or people buying their first home, or maybe upgrading, what are some common mistakes that you see buyers make when they're purchasing, and what's some ways they might be able to avoid those?
I say when they're buying pre-owned, and I'll say both pre-owned and new build.
Yeah.
When they buy pre-owned, is that they go in and they don't account for all the other expenses that they'll have after buying the home.
Sure.
Especially for a pre-owned home, because if you buy something that's used, there's going to be issues that come up a few months down the road that the inspector's not going to catch one day being in the property.
Sure.
So I say that, and then also not, sitting down and actually putting the numbers on paper and kind of figuring out, all right, this is how much my monthly payment's going to be
Right.
based off just the mortgage and everything,
Mm-hmm.
but this is how much my expenses are going to be for utility cost and also any other incurred costs, like let's say the foundation goes wrong
Right.
or the HVAC, something happens to that.
That's big money.
So that's something that they don't account for. Also, a lot of people don't account for the areas.
Yeah.
So you definitely have to sit down and talk to a real estate professional like me,
Yeah.
who knows the area, who actually sit down and put a plan in place to get you in the right place at the right time. And if you're talking about new builds, a lot of the times when you build from the ground up, the salespeople don't work for you. They work for the builder. So they're a benefit for the builder in terms to get represented by a real estate agent. It's actually free of no cost. You don't pay anything for me to go in and represent you and actually get you a better deal.
Yeah.
And then a lot of the times when they build from the ground up, they add all these things, and then it starts off at one price.
Yeah.
When you at the end of the day, it's a completely different price because you added so many things, you upgraded the property. I think in some scenarios there, you could save a lot of money by going by the basic things that you could get from the builder, and then later on change those things after.
Yeah.
Like yourself.
Yeah, like I say, what I tell my clients is that one thing you can't change is a floor plan.
Right.
So anything like a wall, you can't, it's gonna be a lot harder changing it later on
Right.
than doing it from the beginning. But if you need to add, super expensive tile, I wouldn't do it with the builder. I'll
Right.
go and find somebody else after, leave it as carpet, and then change it a year or two when, the carpet goes bad or whatever.
Sure.
So those are some of the common mistakes. Also, going unrepresented is a big one too.
It's,
But yeah.
To me, what
Yeah.
what you're saying, and it makes sense, is this is a big place.
Nah.
And as we know, a drive from one suburb to the other could be an hour and a half.
Exactly.
And if you are looking in the wrong spot, you get here, you're going to be upset,
Mm-hmm.
right? So that makes
Yeah.
all the more reason why, because especially for those people coming into town that don't know,
Mhm.
I think that's massive. So if you come into town and you don't know, because there are pockets just like any other town that aren't the best.
Yeah.
Right? You might have a home that's priced lower, but why is that? And what are you looking at? So I think you make a fantastic point on that.
Yeah.
If we can expand on that a little bit,
Yeah,
what
sure.
are some of the best areas for any tier buyer? From your high end to your entry level. Where do you see most people? Let me make it easier. Where do you see most first time home buyers looking?
So right now it's it's a booming market, right?
Yeah.
So there is a ton of opportunities. I know you're staying up in Frisco right now, right?
Yeah.
So Frisco, north of Frisco, there's Prosper,
Yeah.
Salina, Melissa. Those are good areas for people who are buying their first home that are living in those areas in Frisco. Because in Frisco, to get in there, it's really,
Yeah.
really expensive.
That's the
But-
North Dallas expansion.
I
Exactly.
actually did that property in Salina not even a year ago, and I think the property taxes were like $22,000 a year there.
Yeah.
It was yes,
22.
yes.
You're wild.
No,
There-
on
there-
everything
it's,
I
it's-
love.
It's high, it's high, but if you're gonna, it's cheaper than Frisco.
Yeah.
So if you're working around that area, Prosper, Salina, I have a ton of people who are interested in those areas because of the school district in Prosper as well. There's a community called Wingstone Ranch, beautiful community.
Yeah.
They have a lagoon. I've got a client on the contract right now, building his dream home. Also, Forney is another area that's growing, and it's south of Dallas.
Okay.
It's like southeast of Dallas, and it's a really nice area, developing. There's a ton of things going on there. It's super compared to Prosper, Frisco, all those areas. And it's a lot better pricing for a
Right.
first-time home buyer. I personally live in Mansfield, Texas, and I love living there. It's reasonably priced,
Okay.
really good school district, based on what they say on there.
For-
Yeah.
Like I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know, but it says it's a good school district. And Fort Worth, if you're looking for land,
yeah.
there's a lot of people that come here and want to buy an acre or two.
Sure.
Weatherford's a great area. Mansfield, Midlothian, Waxahachie, those are all areas that are good,
Yeah.
depending on what you're looking for, right?
Yeah.
Mansfield, you get a ton of new builds in that area as well.
Mhm.
Forney, it's mainly on new builds.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of good areas to go and settle down for sure.
A lot of those places they have new homes still going up, like North 380. I know that's the North Dallas side.
Yeah.
They're still building. I mean,
Oh.
it's just never ending. And
Yeah.
I mean, entry level pricing is most likely on a new construction more than maybe, something that's already existing, like in these established areas.
definitely.
A little bit pricier just because of the location, because the closer
Location.
in, the more expensive.
Yeah, you're right. You're totally right
Yeah.
about that. Yeah, and that's what I told my clients.
Yeah, absolutely. So, touching on that a little bit, so, if we've got somebody in here and we do know that it's a popular market, all the things we already talked about, is what is some advice that you might have for whether it's a first time or somebody upgrading or whatever is, what are some things that somebody can do to help their situation if they're in a multiple offer kind of bidding war, something like that? What are some angles that you as a pro are able to kind of advise them on?
So it's funny that you say that because we literally had a class today about that, and we're talking about multiple offers because I think that's where we're headed eventually because we already see it now.
Oh, yeah.
And the rates are still, they haven't really dropped down too much. So to combat that multiple offer situation, which is something that we definitely went through these past couple of years and we learned a lot,
Sure.
is you have to get with a professional realtor because there's a lot of real estate agents out there, but some people just got their license last year or a week ago, or it's a family member and they haven't done any deals. You have to get with a pro, and hey, look, I'll even shoot a referral out to somebody. Like if they have somebody who's like a family member but hasn't done any deals, I'll shoot them a referral if you work with me.
Yeah.
But basically that's what I tell my clients. You got to work with a professional who actually knows what they're doing and has a system in place to win in multiple offer situations. One thing that I can say is definitely you have to have somebody who's really good with communication.
Sure.
Because when I submit my offers to the listing agent on behalf of my clients, I make sure that I call the realtor. I make sure that the lender calls the realtor.
Yeah.
I make sure that he explains the whole situation and what's going on with my client. Give that extra level of confidence.
Yeah.
And then also one thing that a lot of realtors go wrong at is they don't know how to submit an offer.
Yeah.
They just forget to put information on the contract, and now they have to go back and forth. So the number one thing is to make it as easy as possible for the listing agent to say, I want to work with him instead of somebody else.
Somebody that's a little more comfortable with your situation.
Exactly.
I mean, honestly, people, like we say it all the time, is we want to work with people we know, like, and trust.
Exactly.
If you're coming in with that much info, I know their story, whether it's a heartstring that gets pulled on or whatever the case is, then that's a huge advantage.
Exactly.
And that's actually something Rob and I do anyway, not that you would even need to ask us. We know, like, when there's multiple offer, I mean, obviously you're gonna tell us. We always call the listing agent just because that's something that I feel like, I guess it's going the extra mile, but it shouldn't be. It should just be
the norm.
What you do.
100%.
But that's definitely something that we do just because we know that would help our
It
clients.
definitely, and it does help,
And and the client's counting not only on you, but they're counting on us too. So we want to make sure that our client.
It's a team
gets
effort,
their
at the end of the day.
100%.
Yeah. So that's one thing that I can say about that. And just submitting every single bit of paperwork that they request.
Yeah.
Going the extra mile, because if you go wrong on that email, that tells a lot about you. If you just send the offer attached and you don't say anything, it kind of shows the level of detail that you abide by in your business, and more than likely they won't go with you.
Yeah.
Especially in a multiple offer situation.
I think you're dead on about a lot of realtors out there who are just hanging their license.
Yeah.
They see somebody making a bunch of money and they're like, I can do that too. But the paperwork, the offer, the process, the repeat, I mean, there is a benefit because this isn't a refrigerator purchase.
No.
This is your big purchase. It's what most people save up for. This is the big one. So I think you're right, dead on about having somebody who's kind of gone through the paces a little bit.
Exactly.
I mean, we all started somewhere, so
Yeah.
don't worry. The new folks are going to get there eventually.
Eventually.
But yeah, what do you want to do? Do you want to be with a pro? For me, I'm going with somebody who knows what they're doing. So I think that's a damn good point. Because without that, it's one little mistake, you lose out.
Yeah.
And if the market's hot and you're looking in a certain area like we discussed,
Yeah.
and you need to be there, there may not be a lot of opportunities coming
No,
up.
they
You
won't.
know what I mean? So speaking of the first-time buyer,
Yeah.
what are some challenges that you see facing a first-time home buyer, in this particular area, and how do we overcome those?
In the area of buying a home, or
Yeah,
like before the process starts?
Just
No, in the area of here, you mean? right?
Well, in the Dallas area.
Yeah, Dallas area.
First time home
Okay.
buyers, like, what's something that's standing in between them and making that purchase? I would assume some of it has to do with just qualifying for a loan.
Yeah.
Which that's kind of our area where we work, and we definitely know we working hand in hand with realtors. You guys know some of the things we do to help get that. With just inventory, or what do you think are issues that stop?
So, if you look at the numbers, we actually don't have enough inventory right now for
Okay.
buyers yet. It's not a complete, buyer's market. I say it's not even, it's a seller's market right now. It's still a seller's market. It hasn't changed. Obviously, it's not as extreme as it was before with the low interest rates.
Sure.
But it's still a seller's market. We still have around 3 months of inventory, where a balanced market, you're supposed to have 6 months.
Yeah.
And if you're talking about Prosper, Melissa, around those areas, there's way less inventory there. Actually, I think in the beginning of the year, they were up 35% in sales, where the entire market was down 10 or 15%,
Yeah.
which is crazy, right?
Yeah, that's nuts.
So it's still not a balanced market. There's still not enough inventory out there, but there's enough to where you can find a property.
Mhm.
I think the main thing is that I tell clients or buyers is that they got to be serious. Like, if they're looking to buy, this is a serious investment.
Sure.
Like, you can't, go in half in and think you're going to get a really good deal or a good home. You have to go all in.
Yeah,
That's what I tell my clients. Like, there's no way that I could go and fight for you if you don't fight for yourself.
I agree with that.
So I think that's one thing. As long as they're motivated and they're ready to go, I don't think we'll have an issue, really, even with the inventory.
I think
Yeah.
I think when you say you need to be ready, you need to be serious, is you do need to be ready. So I think that lands back into kind of my world is, and be ready to go on the finance side.
Exactly.
Do that first.
Get out the way.
Because there's going to be, number one is, there's a lot of people that won't show a home to somebody without that pre-approval,
Exactly.
right? You don't want to put the dogs up and light the dang apple pie candles and do all that stuff. You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
would you want a bunch of people traipsing through your house that you don't even know if they can buy or not? They
Exactly.
might be a tire kicker, whatever. So that has changed too, where
A
you-
tire kicker?
tire kicker.
I would love to know what a tire kicker is.
You're,
I've heard of that before. You're the only one.
What's a tire kicker?
It's when somebody goes to a car lot and they're just kind of walking around, kicking tires,
Oh.
maybe not serious.
Is that
Yeah.
an Oklahoma thing?
It's
Actually,
a-
heard it here.
Yeah, that's American thing.
It's an American
Okay.
thing.
Oh, sorry about that.
All right. Well, I'm glad you learned something.
Continue.
You
Sorry.
learned a lot, thanks today. Though.
You said tire kicker. What?
That's insane to me that you've never heard that.
Yeah, me too.
Okay.
Actually,
My apologies, guys.
actually, I'm very,
and
very
I'm from
surprised. Here.
Kingfisher, so you think I would have heard
country
tire.
stuff going on out there.
Yeah.
Okay, sorry, continue.
Sorry. So, with everything we're talking about,
Yeah.
tell me a little bit about with you
Uh-huh.
and let's say clients that come across, referrals, leads, whatever the case may be. What are some resources that you provide that help us sort out all of these things that we're talking about, like my area, what houses are available? What are some things that you provide to kind of help that buyer?
Awesome, good that you say that. So obviously, I offer a buyer consultation where we sit down and actually go through what you're looking to achieve in real estate,
Yeah.
and we make sure to act more of a sales consultant than a salesperson.
Sure.
So I'm here to analyze every single detail and then provide it for you, whether it's a specific house that you're looking at or a specific area. And then again, I just leave it off to the client. So if they're still interested after that, it's all good. If they're not, it's okay. Again, I'm not gonna push them to do anything. So that's what we do there. Another thing that we do is that after that, we get somebody in the contract. I do have people that I work with, TCs that make sure that this paperwork goes as smooth as possible, and then not just that, but they negotiate on my behalf.
Yeah.
And
For someone who wouldn't know what a TC is, I know what that is,
Oh,
but
yeah.
for someone who doesn't,
do know that.
I do a transaction
Wow.
coordinator.
Transaction
I know.
coordinator, so
But
she
I know
does my
there might be
paperwork.
somebody that doesn't,
Yeah.
so I just
Exactly.
kinda
That's good that you brought
put
that
out
up. Yeah, so I have a pretty seamless process after we get under contract that makes it smooth for everyone, and then great lenders involved.
Yeah.
So that way, when we're in the deal, we know it's going to close,
Yeah.
or we have a strong feeling that's going to close.
Yeah.
Do you have, when you get somebody that's set up, that you get their needs list, you kind of get what their checklist of what their homes are? Do you have like a search engine of some sort that you provide, like the email? Is that something?
Yeah, I
you
put them
have?
on an e-alert, and then also, I get really emails every single day about properties that match my clients.
Yeah.
And not just that, but I'm, out there prospecting every single day. So I'm an aggressive realtor. I aggressively prospect for my clients, whether it's a listing or a buyer. If they're looking in a certain area, I'm going to call the certain area. And if there's no houses for sale, I'll find somebody that's going to sell a house.
Yeah.
Because I prospect all day. You know, that's what I do. And I love doing that. And another thing.
And I think that would
yeah.
probably set you apart, because I bet that not every realtor probably
No, not
goes
every
out there making the phone
probably
calls,
1%
knocking
Well, it
on
kind of goes
doors.
back to what he was saying, is being established and being a pro, you're gonna have, you know, people in your office, new listings, things like that.
Exactly.
Where maybe you know about before it hits the market, I call a pocket listing,
Yeah.
you know, things like that.
Well, and systems
Which
in
is huge.
place.
Yeah.
just to
Yeah, I
get
have that,
those
and
done.
then I have a huge network of people, of real estate agents that I know, that if I know of a property that's coming up, you know, I ask, you know, especially if I'm asking my clients. Or like yesterday, I had a duplex that's coming up on the market in Dallas.
Uh-huh.
And I told one of my friends, he's a real estate agent, he was like, bro, I got a client for you. So like, that's another way of doing it.
That's big time.
And not just that, but if you're coming from out of state, I do actually set a Zoom call where I go through the whole buyer presentation, and then I sit down and then we analyze different areas, especially if you're coming from out of state or out of country. You want to know what, you know, because people say Dallas, right? But
Right.
Dallas is huge. Dallas is huge. DFW is huge. So I want to make sure we actually like pinpoint certain areas where they'll probably be interested in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's a big deal, man. I mean, especially coming to this area, it is just, again, so huge.
Yeah.
I mean, it's the biggest city in the United States per square foot, I believe, as far as when you put both metros together. It's outrageous. So I think it's clear, using somebody who has knowledge of all these places and all these price points and all these neighborhoods and schools and all of that, that's huge, because those are huge things for everybody. Speaking of switching gears to maybe if you're thinking about selling your home, you know, you're already here, you're selling, you know, maybe you're a move up buyer. You know, what's something that I need to keep in mind, you know, if I'm selling my current home and I'm thinking about purchasing a new one, what's something I need to be prepared for, think about ahead of time?
You know, this is good because I specialize on listings. So the cheap route's not always the best route. There's realtors out there, companies out there that will list your property for a really small fee, but they're not going to do any of the marketing that somebody like me would do.
Right.
Right, because they don't spend any money. How are they going to spend money if they're not making any money out of the deal in general?
Yeah.
Right. So, you know, I would say you need to market the property effectively. 98% of buyers come from online marketing.
Yeah.
So if you're not doing that, you're not captivating that 98%.
You're missing
But
people.
you're missing a lot of people.
Yeah.
So my job is to market your property to as many buyers as possible. Right, I'm a marketer.
Yeah.
You know, I say I'm a real estate agent, but really I'm a marketer, especially if I'm listing a property. So I make sure to market your property effectively. We use online ads, we use YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, and just, you know, I actually have this on my listing presentation, but in the last 45 days, I got 155,000 people on my TikTok.
Wow.
So not a lot of realtors have that to show.
No.
From my YouTube page in the last 30 days, I got 44,000 people.
Wow.
So that's organic marketing. And then out of that, there's people watching from all over the world who are interested in buying in this area. That's why they're watching that video. So I would say marketing is key.
Yeah.
Make sure you pick the right people, right professional real estate agent to list your property, and then have a good game plan in place for you to go buy the next property.
That's awesome, man. It makes so much sense. Realtors in general with that, if we can just real quickly touch on, because when you're talking about higher priced homes, you know, the DFW area is not the lowest in the country. You know,
No.
your entry level is probably 300 plus if you're lucky, right? A lot of people will come in and do a discount for you. And you touched on that fact, is you kind of, when it again goes back to, this is a big investment, this is your big ticket item. Do you want to go with a discount person, or what's the difference between what they can do and what you can do? Is what you said is the mass marketing, which leads to what? More opportunities to sell, which means you can sell for more, you can
Exactly.
sell quicker. So maybe the $500 I'll put your house on MLS sounds attractive, and you're looking at what you net, but if I sell the home for quicker, for more money, then you're getting the same thing. My fee is not really a concern anymore, right?
Right.
I mean, that's always huge.
Yeah.
So I think I was in a mastermind not long ago, and they asked us a question, and this is something that has kind of stuck with me, and it's a little bit broad, so if it takes you a second to answer, feel free. But it was really stuck with me, was money exchanges hands when problems are solved.
Exactly.
What problems do you solve?
What do I solve?
That
That was a tough one. Man, I'm like, yeah, I solve a lot of issues for my clients. There is, man, you know, real estate is my life, right? So for my clients, that's a broad question.
Yeah, no,
because
I know.
every client is going to be different.
Yeah.
You know, every client has different situations that I need to solve. So I would say that I find out what I need to solve. That's what I do. I find out what it is that I need to solve,
Mhm.
and if I don't know, I'll bring it out and I find it,
Yeah.
and I make sure we tackle that, and I make sure we figure it out for my clients, so that way they go on their merry way and they keep moving where they
Yeah,
need
that
to go.
individual attention, that treating everybody as a person, because everybody's situation.
Yeah,
You know, so I think the problem you solve is getting all of these things into one spot and making it a little easier and a little easier to understand and grasp when you're talking about such a big area
Yeah.
with all these options. Everything we've talked about sounds like that's the problem that you solve.
that's a
is-
great question.
Yeah.
Because that got me
I didn't
thinking.
tell you that one ahead.
No, you didn't. That was hey, yeah. But that was a great question because it actually kind of reminded me of why I do this.
Yeah.
So that's awesome, man. I like
That's
that.
exactly
Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
Man, we appreciate you being on and talking to us about DFW. We'll do this again. I'd like to keep doing this as much as possible,
Yeah,
just because
definitely.
it's ever changing.
Yes.
Mhm.
I mean, so we've learned a lot about DFW, and more importantly, I think the biggest takeaway for me is if you maybe are coming from an area or whatever, you don't think I could do this without a realtor, I could sell my house myself. This is a different market.
Yeah.
Right.
Having somebody that knows what they're doing, knows the areas, knows how to negotiate, knows the trends
Yeah.
is massive.
Exactly.
And I think that's what you answered for us today, man. I really appreciate you being on.
Thank you
Liz,
so much.
Thanks for learning today.
Of course. I learned a lot of things.
Let's try and use tired paper once today.
I think I'm gonna not use that ever, actually.
Well, either way. Again, man, thank you for
Yeah.
being on.
Thank you so
Can't
much,
wait till
man.
the next time. Liz, thank you.
Thank you, Liz. Thank you so much for inviting me out. Yeah.
All right, till next time.
Let's go.